Hello and welcome to this WBZ debate on question 4 on your November ballot. Now, question 4 asks if you want to keep or repeal a law passed last spring that would, quoting now from the ballot, allow Massachusetts residents who cannot provide proof of lawful presence in the United States to obtain a standard driver's license or learner's permit if they meet all the other qualifications for those documents, including a road test and insurance, and provide proof of their identity, date of birth, and residency, end quote. Here to debate this issue are State Senator Lydia Edwards of East Boston, who advocates a yes vote that would keep the law in place, and Attorney Jay McMahon, the Republican nominee for Attorney General. He's arguing for a no vote that would repeal it. Thank you both for being here. Good to have you. Let's begin our debate. So we'll go in alphabetical order. Same basic question here, starting with you, Senator Edwards. Why do we need this law?
Well, it's a matter of safety. It's a matter of making sure that the people who are driving every day know that the other drivers are tested, are insured, and have licenses. And it's what the public safety experts support. Law enforcement overwhelmingly supports this, making sure that people actually know how to drive and making sure that everybody on the roads, that we know who they are. So getting a license and making sure that people are tested and vetted is the best way to do that.
Thank you. Mr. McMahon, why don't we need it?
Well, first of all, it rewards people who have been here, who came here illegally, and it's giving them some kind of documents of legitimacy through the state. The federal Constitution doesn't allow that. Quite frankly, the federal Constitution says any recognition of a foreign national has to be done through the president, and he does that through the State Department. Secondly, it triggers billions of dollars, more than the $2 billion that we're spending already in the budget for other supports for illegal aliens in Massachusetts. But third, it also makes Massachusetts a magnet because it gives illegal aliens who are entering the country illegally, it gives them legitimacy where otherwise they don't have it. We don't know who those people are. And finally, it damages the integrity of the electoral system in Massachusetts because the registry automatically registers these people to vote.
Okay, there was a lot in there, and we'll have plenty of time to unpack it, but let's start with some rebuttal.
Sure. We can talk first with the fact that there are 17 states that already are doing this. So the recognition of foreign nationals is an argument that doesn't really fly and it isn't practically actually implemented. You have the issue of, if we want to talk about costs, we're actually going to raise money in terms of $5 million just in fees and $6 million in making sure that people are paying for taxes and excise taxes. We're raising revenue, we're making sure people are tested and vetted, and that's exactly what we actually are going to do is find out who they are because they will have to come and present who they are. They'll have to demonstrate, my name is Lydia Edwards, I live in East Boston, and in order to get the license, I have to demonstrate I'm a resident here. So this, I think, we're conflating the issues. I'm here to debate whether people should be tested, insured, and licensed, and Mr. McMahon might be debating immigration policy, but today, the safest thing we can do is make sure majority of us are licensed, tested, and insured.
Response.
Well, the senator mentioned a few moments ago about public safety. Public safety actually becomes imperiled by this. In every state that has already allowed this, 16 states have allowed it already, there have been catastrophic and disastrous results. In every state, without question, there's between 20 to 40% increase in annual traffic fatalities based on illegal immigrants having licenses. And the argument for public safety, it's a fallacious one because to say that the registry requires insurance, right now, to get a license in Massachusetts, you don't need insurance. It's only when you register a vehicle that you have to have insurance. So there's a problem with that argument. But there's also a problem when it comes to public safety. It's a disaster for every state that's done it.
Go ahead.
No, that's not true. I mean, the states that have done it have seen actually drastic decreases in hit-and-run accidents. People stick around. They're there to demonstrate that they're insured. They're there to demonstrate that they have a license. I'm, again, here to debate whether it's safest for Massachusetts and the public safety experts. Our police, our DAs, a majority of all of them, support having licenses.
What about that?
Okay, so so the idea is that if that the police are behind this. Maybe they are, maybe they aren't. The statistics we have is that 60% of Democrats are against giving illegal aliens licenses. The rest is, and on the other side with Republicans, about 90%. Independents are 75% against giving illegal aliens driver's licenses. So I don't know where the senator's getting her figures, but I will tell you, and when she says that they have fatalities have gone down, no, they haven't. They've gone up 25% in Colorado, 23% in Connecticut, 25% in Delaware, and I can name all the rest, but 30%
All right, well,
in Hawaii.
Do you want to respond to that?
Well, again, he can bring up party affiliation. I'm here to talk about the practical reality of people who want to get in their cars and drive to work or go to school and know that the person next to me on the road is tested, is insured, and has a license. And the best way to do that is to have a system that allows for them to get that license. And in terms of the statistics or individuals, you can look at the major city police chiefs. That organization has endorsed this overwhelmingly, majority of the DAs in Massachusetts. You can cite statistics from all over the country that you may, but the practical reality, those who have to live and breathe the public safety of you and me and our families, those individuals absolutely support these licenses.
I'll give you a brief response, and then I do want to move on to another question.
The real issue, though, is public safety. And by giving them a driver's license doesn't enhance public safety. It hinders public safety. Now, many of the police departments want the issue about identification, because when you arrest someone, especially if they're illegal aliens and they have no documentation, you cannot do a background check on them. So what the police departments are looking at is maybe there's some identification so that they don't have to arrest the person. Because if you're driving in Massachusetts without a license, no matter who you are, you're subject to arrest. And the departments don't want to keep arresting these people and have them walk out the door of the courthouse paying a $100 fine.
All right, I'll tell you what, we can return to this later on. We're bringing in a whole bunch of issues. I want to help inform people, not confuse them. So let's focus in on one of these issues, which is that in the official statement against the law that's been certified by the Secretary of State, it says this law is, quote, patently unfair to those who've come here via legal means. And you alluded to that in your opening remarks. How is it patently unfair?
Well, first of all, if you are here in this country legally, the federal government recognizes driver's licenses from a whole host of other countries. For instance, if you're coming in from Canada, you're here legally, you go through the border, and you get to drive anywhere you want in the country. Same thing with Mexico. If you come in legally and you have a Mexican license, it's recognized by all the states. So people who have entered the country legally have rights of transportation anywhere they want to go. But the problem with illegals is that they're already here. They've already violated the law to come here. This only gives them legitimacy where they, quite frankly, don't deserve it.
Senator.
Again, this is not doing anything besides assuring that a person is able and has the permission to drive. And that just makes sense. That's the safest possible thing we can do. Excuse me. At the end of the day, I don't think we should be enacting policy that is about legitimizing or not legitimizing individuals and their decisions and how they got here. I genuinely don't care. I need to know that someone is driving and knows how to drive, that they've been tested, that they have insurance. That's the safest thing for me and my family. And that, at the end of the day, is all I think most people care about, their families and making sure that they're safe. Making sure that they're safe. Excuse me.
Can I respond to that?
Yeah, of course, please do.
Right, so the senator said she doesn't care how they got here. To be honest, I do care how they got here. I care because it's a public safety concern. We want to know who's crossing our borders and why they're coming here. And when they come here illegally, we want to know why are they coming here illegally? Why don't they go through the proper points of entry? Why would they sneak into the country? Now, somebody would say, well, they're just looking for a job. Well, if they come in the right way, if they fill out the correct paperwork and go through the proper ports of entry, they can get that. Millions of people do it the right way. So I'm always suspect when someone, in their first act of coming into this country, and it's an illegal act.
Again, he wants to debate immigration policy, and I'm happy to do that at another time. Question 4 is not about immigration policy. It's about whether people should be vetted, whether they should be tested, and whether they should be able to prove and earn a driver's license in this state. How, again, they got here and why and how they have, whether they have TPS, whether they have been vetted and their visa ran out. There's so many different ways in which a person may find themselves undocumented at a point in their lifetime. I am more concerned that when they get in their car and begin to drive and they start that ignition, that they know how to read the signs, that they are insured, and that they have a license. That is the most important practical thing, and that's what local issues are about. That's what we're debating, a state issue, not the federal issue of immigration, and I think our delegation should be taking care of that in D.C. But for right now, the police officer that pulls somebody over, he or she needs to know who that person is, and a driver's license will have their name and address. That person is the practical reality. That person is dealing with, they're on the front lines, and this helps them.
We have to take a break, but I seem to hear you a moment ago sort of acknowledge that there is some practical use to the police of having these individuals be licensed.
Only as the way the law is implemented right now. But the law is a bad law to begin with. It is disastrous to public safety, and we can talk about
Which law are you referring to?
the licensing law. I'm going to talk about what the senator said about that it's addressed to foreign nationals and immigration. Well, in fact, yes, it absolutely is. That's what it's addressing.
I'll just be very brief.
Yeah,
Again,
please.
The person's name and address will be on there. And that's exactly what we want to find out when we pull over anybody. We want to know that they're licensed, that they're insured. It is a matter of safety. And to be very frank about this is what the law enforcement, the public safety experts, the ones who put their lives on the line, they are saying this is the right thing to do. And finally, the law hasn't been implemented. It just passed. We actually built in a full year for us to make sure that the entire process, working through the RMV and making sure there's no overlap with the Secretary of State, is actually done correctly. So we have a whole year before it would even be implemented. So you actually don't know how it practically would work because we haven't actually finished the process.
It's easy enough to determine how
Briefly.
that's going to be implemented.
You can
and
look at the 17 states that have done it, right?
information that the registry gets come directly from the person. So if the person is giving an alias and giving a phony background, there's no way to check that out.
Well,
and that's the problem with entering the country illegally. It goes right from the beginning.
All right, I'll tell you what, let's pause and take our break. We can get more into that in a moment, and we'll also explore the capacity of the registry to administer this law when we continue our debate on question 4 in just a moment. Please stay with us. Welcome back to our debate on question 4 on your November ballot concerning driver's licenses for undocumented immigrants. Our debaters, Senator Lydia Edwards of East Boston, supporting a yes vote on question 4, and the GOP nominee for Attorney General Jay McMahon supporting a no vote. And you'll take this question first, Senator. The law doesn't allow the undocumented to get a real ID, which is the federal ID that you'll need to board airplanes starting next spring. It also prohibits use of the license to register to vote. Don't those portions of the law reflect concerns about the ability of the registry to properly screen these applicants?
No, those are actually reflecting the concerns of people who were opponents and wanted to make sure that the two issues of being able to vote or being able to fly federally were not conflated with permission to drive on our streets. That actually demonstrates a rare thing in politics, which is compromise and working on hearing both sides of the issue. And the fact that they baked in a full year of making sure the RMV and our process is thoroughly vetted, that all the T's are crossed, all the I's are dotted, before we start issuing driver's licenses. And by that I mean before people can actually apply to start to get their driver's licenses and get tested, demonstrates another compromise and a practical reality that we want to do this right.
Mr. McMahon.
Well, when Charlie Baker, Governor Charlie Baker vetoed this bill, he said one of the major reasons was that the documentation produced by illegal aliens, that he felt that the Registry of Motor Vehicles did not have the expertise or the capabilities of verifying these documents. In other words, these documents are coming from a foreign country in a foreign language, and it requires certain authentication, which the registry just doesn't have the ability to do. So the real problem here is that anybody can come up with something and get a license. And you've heard earlier that, well, they're not going to get a real ID. Well, the question begs, why? So does that mean that driver's licenses without being a real ID have no effect because perhaps the person who they claims to be on that license is not really that person? And why not a real ID? And if it's not a real ID, why can't they get a real ID the next time they go to when it expires and they go to renew the license? So the point here is clear. It's giving legitimacy to people who otherwise should not have it.
Rebuttal.
Again, it's assuring that people who can earn, can pay for a driver's license can get in line, apply for and get tested, and ultimately get insured and drive their car. That is the basic function of a driver's license. It isn't supposed to be a demonstration of you being a good citizen or a good person. It's just supposed to say who you are and that you have permission to drive. And that's ultimately the safest thing that we can do. At the end of the day, you know, the whole politics of the real ID and whether we should or shouldn't have that, again, is a decision that is completely separate from whether someone should be able to drive.
What about this issue of voting? The suggestion has been made that somehow this would lead to voter fraud. Why don't we start with you on that?
No, I actually have practical reality. So before I was a senator, I was an immigration attorney. I represented a lot of people. I've helped people get their green cards. I help people get UNT visas who are victims of trafficking. And the practical, again, day-to-day issue is when they go to apply for their driver's license, they can click whether they are a U.S. citizen or a resident. You know, that's what's required if you're going to become, going to get your license, and then if you're going to ultimately become a registered voter. So my clients who have green cards, so are legally here and present, would click that they're a resident. They don't click that they're a U.S. citizen, so they don't automatically go into the go get registered to vote. There's a system that already is vetting them, is what I'm trying to say. And that system would still continue to vet and not allow for people who are not U.S. citizens to register to vote.
Response.
Okay, well, everybody knows in the Registry of Motor Vehicles, when you fill out your application, there's a little box, and the little box that you check off talks about whether you want to opt out from being a voter. Now, when these people apply, think of it. They never tell us the second step, and this is always the problem, the second step. So someone fills out an application. They can't ask them where they're from. They can't ask them if they're here legally or illegally. They're not going to tell them. So they fill out the application, and then they don't check the box because there's no need to check. They won't check the box to opt out from voting. So they're automatically registered by the Registry of Motor Vehicles to become a voter here, completely sidestepping everything that's the prerogative of the federal government.
Is that true?
No, and none of my clients were automatically registered to vote. And again, we are talking at the very essence about people just having permission to drive and knowing who they are. And if this is a concern that people have, we have built in an entire year to make sure that that doesn't happen, that these accidents or that this misrepresentations, that they don't happen. We can build that into the entire system. That's why we have a full year before this law becomes implemented to make sure that these things don't happen.
So think about this, John. So basically, what the senator said was that, so we've got people, we're giving them the ability, we're giving them a benefit to drive because they can't otherwise get that. And the reason why they can't otherwise get it is because they're here illegally in the first place. So what we're saying is that we're legitimizing and giving people a right who are not citizens, who are foreign nationals, we're giving them a right that they otherwise don't have.
Well, I I want to go ahead if you want to.
No, we're allowing them to be vetted. We're allowing them to earn the privilege to drive here. We're allowing them to earn that. We don't have a right to drive, as I'm sure he would agree to that. What we have is the opportunity to present our case and to be vetted to drive. That's what it does. It simply says that you can see, that you can test, that you can read the signs, that you are insured. That's all that document or that license is going to do. And in terms of legitimacy of individuals, people who are undocumented buy homes, people who are undocumented, their children go to school. There are so many different ways in which we have wonderful neighbors and contributors to our economy that I guess I'm confused by your whole argument about legitimacy. The individuals who are here are living, going to church, doing everything that you and I are doing.
When they are committing a crime by being in this country illegally, when they sneak into the country, their motive needs to be brought into suspect until someone is able to vet them. Now, you're saying, well, the registry of motor vehicle is going to vet them. But really, in reality, Border Patrol is supposed to vet them. ICE is supposed to vet them. The federal government is supposed to vet them before they even get here to Massachusetts or at a point of entry. But what you're saying is, no matter how they're here illegally, the registry is going to vet them. And I don't want to put it all on the registry. Governor Baker says they can't handle that.
They're vetting whether they can drive. They're vetting whether they can see. Like they would vet me and other people who've moved to the state. They vetted me. They made sure that I could see. They made sure that I was who I said I was, and they made sure I can prove where I lived. That's the vetting that the RMV is going to be required to do for everybody. In terms of the documents, he himself admitted that we allow for other foreign driver's licenses to come here, and we recognize those foreign documents, if you will, and allow for people to use that. So that is an identification that we allow for people to drive with. They can bring in their foreign documents and vet and demonstrate who they are.
Absolutely, that's legal.
Yes, so that's
But what you're talking about is giving it to people who are illegal.
No.
Now that's a problem because their status is criminal.
What I'm talking about is addressing your concern about demonstrating who they are. You said that they can bring in any old document, and I'm pointing out that they bring in those licenses from Canada or Mexico, foreign documents in different languages, and we are okay with that and allow them to drive. They will bring in their birth certificates. They'll bring in other documents that may be from other countries, and we will use the same careful eye that we do right now and vet those documents and allow for them to prove who they are.
Well,
we're doing it now, as you admitted.
The governor says the registry cannot vet as you have said that they could. He says they neither have the expertise nor the competency to do that.
And I am telling you, the reason why we overwhelmingly overrode the governor's veto in both houses is because we know we can build the system to thoroughly vet people and make sure that we're absolutely safe in Massachusetts. We can build that best system.
And by overriding it, the legislature actually put public safety here in Massachusetts in peril. It was a disastrous override, and that's why there's a referendum now, and we'll see how the voters feel.
Well, yes, we certainly will. I want to use our final couple of minutes here, so please keep your responses brief. To return to that question of public safety, you two touched on it a little bit off the top. According to my research, every member of the Massachusetts Association of Major City Police Chiefs has endorsed a yes vote. Why is that?
Because it's easy identification. Police want identification no matter what it is. It's a card. We don't know if that person's picture and that name is on the card. We don't know if he fled his country, not for amnesty or for asylum here, but because he's fleeing from some kind of criminal background. So we just don't know that. And by the way the process is working here, Massachusetts becomes a magnet.
So are the police mistaken, or is this some kind of just a make-work thing? Or?
Well, it's an issue. Okay, so
briefly, I'm sorry, but
that's all right. But in my practice, I work with this every day, and what happens is they're going to have to arrest otherwise, and they'd rather write a citation.
Okay. Very briefly, if you want to, then we have to wrap.
No, I appreciate you making my arguments for me. The police endorse this because it's safer. They will know who they're pulling over. They will know it's a matter of resources. Do we really want them spending their time dealing with someone who's a waiter or a waitress or taking their child to school when in reality they could just write the citation? We don't need this law to continue the way it is because it's not safe. It's a waste of resources. Tested, insured, and licensed is why police officers want this law. They want us to be safer.
Thank you both. Our time has expired here. Very quickly, sir, if people want to find out more about the no position on question 4, where can they go?
You want to go to Fair and Secure Massachusetts, and their website is FAIR, F-A-I-R, and Secure, S-E-C-U-R-E, and then capital M-A, no spaces in between that, .com. FairandSecureMA.com.
Mr. McMahon, thank you. Senator, where can people find out more about the yes position?
Sure. The yesforsaferroads.org is the website for the coalition, which includes, again, law enforcement and includes advocates from all stripes throughout the entire state. And at the end of the day, you can also look at the Working Families Mobility Act, excuse me. That's the law that was passed.
Okay. Thank you both very much. That concludes our debate. Stay with WBZ for debates between the candidates for auditor on October 16th and the candidates for Attorney General on October 23rd. Then vote, of course, and watch your vote count on Tuesday night, November 8th, starting at 8 o'clock on TV 38 and CBS News Boston. I'm John Keller. Thanks for watching.